Hello friends, welcome back. This is Amanda with Molly Cole Creations. We are back this week with a few more patriotic DIY projects we are pretty excited about. These projects, several of them, I am using some kits. So they're super simple. Everything is kind of laid out for you already. I'm using 6 popsicle sticks in this one. There are 2 plain ones and 2 that I have little scored lines for multicolors, and then one with the little popsicle bite. So this is going to be a garland, and I'm painting 2 of them red with it's called Imperial by Folkart. So I paint 2 of those red, and I did tape off the little popsicle stick portion so that that will remain brown. And I paint these 2 with the stripes. Of course, I do those red, white, and blue. I could have just painted the whole thing white and probably saved myself a little bit of time because I did have to tape off each section, but that's okay. Then the other one is going in it's Deco Art Americana in navy blue. And I do paint the front and backs of all of these the same, just to, regardless of where it's hanging or how it's hanging, it's going to look nice and finished. So I'm just finishing up the blue, and then I will start on with the white. For the white, I use, where are my words? It's Rust-Oleum white chalk paint. And the stencils I am using are reusable. I do use them in several projects. Just give them a wash. I cut these stencils with my Cricut, and the red are getting white stripes, obviously. And I do this one just straight up and down, and I'm just using a dabbing motion. I don't really be too careful about it, but just taking my time so I don't get any bleeds, and it works great. This one I put the stripes just diagonally. Now this is not an exact flag, obviously. This is just decorative. Nothing's up to spec, but it's just for fun, and yeah, just decorative, like I said. So then I do have to tape off for the white and get this little multicolored popsicle finished up. Do the same thing with the other one, and I let the fronts of these dry. I do have the base coats done on them all. And then we will move on to, we're going to use another stencil, another reusable stencil for the blue popsicles, and those will be the little stars. Just using kind of the same method on this stencil, just lightly pouncing up and down, using very little paint, offloading much of the paint before I start the stenciling, and just holding it down as flat and still as I can. Just kind of taking my time. Stencil projects do take time. As simple as they are, it does take some time. This is just how I chose to do it. You could certainly use vinyl or cut out the little stars and then paint over entirely. That might be a good solution. But I'm just going to finish up this last white strip here, and we will move on to the sticks and the rest of the project. For my little stems, I am just using the Waverly Wax and Antique Wax paint mixed with some water as per usual, and I'm just darkening those up. This is just MDF, so it's kind of similar in color. I'm just evening it up, making it look a bit nicer. And for this is a complete optional extra step and unnecessary, but this one is for me, and I wanted mine to look kind of rustic, I guess. So I do sand the edges, and I run that brush with the antique wax on it very dryly over all of them. And you could keep this bright and white and it would be just as cute, but like I said, this one was for me and that was my choice. The kit also comes with 7 of these stars with holes cut in them as well. And I'm using the same antique wax paint to give these a quick coat. And then easy peasy, I'm going to just string everything up with some twine. I kind of start just by laying them out, deciding how I want to arrange them. You could arrange these any which way you like, go in a pattern, do every other one. I just was kind of playing around with it to see how I wanted to do it and which side I wanted to use, and then just pulling out this very thin twine. I cut the twine at about 5 feet, and that will allow whoever is making this, you can make your banner or your garland longer or shorter. I found that where I put mine, I had plenty of extra twine, especially to like make the knots to hold it from one end of my shelf that I hung it on and to the other side. But it should give someone plenty of space to either, you can make your popsicles and your stars closer together, or you can make them farther apart. It all just depends on how you want it to look and where it's going to go. And this project is, well, no, I thought I was done. I forgot. I did use a little bit of white wax. As I said, I was kind of distressing a bit, and I had already cleaned off my white paintbrush, or otherwise I probably just would have dry brushed this, but I'm just using some white wax to give it that same look. And once we are done with that wax, then this project is complete, and you will see how I have mine hung. And there it is, just each piece hanging. I put a star on both sides to start and end the banner or the garland, and yeah, there it is. Got some shadows in my room that day, but that gives you the idea. All right, moving on to project number 2. As I said, we are using some kits. This is by far the easiest one of all. It's quick, it's easy, everything is laid out for you. This is kind of I'm calling it a spindle flag. And we are starting with the red, same red, the Imperial Chalk Paint by Folkart, giving this a good coat. And it did take probably about a coat and a half, I'd say, just to make it look totally even and with good coverage. And I'm just using a sponge brush, nothing fancy, nothing special. and it looks really good and covered. This paint covers very nicely. So I'm kind of setting that aside to dry. I'm going to paint all of these spindles in white, and I didn't point it out before I painted it, but the back of the flag, or the front side of the flag, has engraved or scored lines. So it's for easy placement. You won't have to line these up, you won't have to measure, you won't have to make anything sure anything is straight. You can still see those lines very, very faintly, even through that red paint. So it makes it really, really simple and easy. And so all of these are going to get the white paint along with the star, of course. And again, just using the Rust-Oleum white chalk paint. Using that same DecoArt Americana in the color navy blue, I painted that square and finished up the white on the spindles. Now here I like the lines in the spindles, so I'm just cleaning those out with a little toothpick. Anything kind of small and sharp will clean those right out. And here I am just putting it together. Like I said, so quick, so easy. I am using the Surebond thick super glue. It holds good and it holds fast. This is my preferred super glue because it is so strong and it has a teeny tiny nozzle, so I tend to make less messes with it. And yeah, this one you could hang, you can just set on a shelf. This can be put just about anywhere. It's not too big. It's about 11 by 7.5 inches. And that's where I put mine, in my little wreath, my standard wreath that I keep up year long. And I just insert something seasonally as we go. This is project number 3. Again, one more kit, and I have to get these kits painted and done anyways, and so I just like to showcase them, and I don't do one in every video, but in this case I did have a few to do. So these are little pennant flags, and there are 8, as you can see, and they have holes, so this too will be hung like a banner or a garland, I guess you could say, a flag garland. And I'm using, again, those same stencils. These are reusable. They are so nice and handy that I don't have to keep cutting them. Oh, in a case like this where you're using it so many times, that would be a lot of vinyl to cut and weed and reuse and just toss. So it wouldn't really work with vinyl as you're using them over and over and over. So this is a good solution for that, and it does come with the kit. So this is similar to the popsicles in that I am doing stripes on the red and stars on the blue. Just kind of using the same method, just pouncing it up and down with a sponge brush ever so lightly as to not get any bleeds. And in this one we got lucky, we didn't get any. So that's always a fun moment to remove it and see that it is clean and perfect. Once I was done with all the stenciling and they had dried, I did give them just a quick sand. I didn't go too heavy on it, just kind of around the edges, and just to smooth those edges out and dull a little bit of the blue and a little bit of the red. And again, that is just totally optional and just a preference thing. Just what I wanted to do. This one, we are doing something a little bit different to finish it off. I grabbed some fun ribbon that I felt like looked, you know, patriotic-y. And I'm just cutting strips, and I already strung the flags onto the twine. I used the same twine as I did with the popsicle garland. And this blue ribbon, I loved it. It almost looks like kind of denim, and I love the white stitching, but it was just a little too thick, so I'm just cutting it in half. And then I'm tying a piece of each in between each little flag. And I wanted to fray the edges, so I just use that sanding block and just rub those edges and do a little bit of trimming. I don't want any like stragglers hanging around, but I do want it just to give a little bit of fringe. And again, you can space this banner out to make it however long or however short. You could remove a couple of flags if you don't need all 8. This length of ribbon is twine is long enough that you can make it quite long or shorten it up, depending on your space. And I just tie them in simple knots, kind of arrange them so that they stay down where I want them to stay. And this ribbon, both of them came from Hobby Lobby. But isn't that cute? I love it. It is so fun. I love the ribbon. And I've had a lot of fun making patriotic DIYs this year. And it's just such a nice way to celebrate our holiday and use some colors that I typically wouldn't use. And I hope that you all are loving them as much as I am. This is our final project, and I'm calling it project number 4 and 5 because this is all going to be double-sided. That is my inspiration, and I found that on Etsy. It is going to be a little bit different than the one I just pictured because that one is done with actual vinyl lettering. I'm using stencils. You know, I like to stencil. That's just my preference. You could do it either way, but these are just using some scrap wooden blocks made out of 1x4s. We just cut them down in different sizes. I will list these sizes in the description box if you're interested in doing a project like this yourself. And this took me probably a good couple of hours because you have to wait to do the other side, you have to wait for it to dry. There was just a lot to it. And I created all the stencils, of course, on my Cricut. This one I did not use the reusable vinyl material because I don't plan to make more than one of these. And this is just done with stencil vinyl. And of course using the same red paint that we've been using, the same navy blue paint, and the same white paint. I start out for the summer side using this green, it's by Apple Barrel. It's called, I have it right here, Caterpillar. And I thought I was going to use that, but you'll see at some point I changed my mind. I didn't end up liking it. So, anyhow, that's what I'm doing right here. This is I think it's a 2x2 block that I cut just to fit for this project. And again, I will leave measurements. I'm doing all 4 sides of this one in white. Now for the other blocks, I left the edges clean, as in just the wood. I didn't paint them at all. I didn't stain them. I left them completely raw. Because this is double-sided, I didn't want the edges to be one color or another. So I just left them plain. I thought that was simplest. You could stain everything first and then paint. I just chose to do it this way. So here are all my stencil letters. And as I said, I just cut them out of regular stencil vinyl. And I just start by getting them weeded. I will leave the font information as well. I have no idea what font the inspiration picture, what that person used. I just picked one that I liked. And if you choose to remake this, you can use any font you like as well. I did want kind of a thicker, chunkier font for the letters. That was just my preference, what I wanted, and that's what I went with. And I don't remember the name of it offhand, but I will definitely list it below in case anyone is interested. So I grabbed this old, this was a transfer sheet I used before. You can see I'm actually picking hair off of it because it was on the floor. But I'm just going to reuse this and cut it kind of down to size, and we'll reuse this a few times. And eventually the transfer tape does kind of start to curl, but you can get away with using it quite a few times over and over, and it does the job, and you save on the transfer tape. So I'm just getting this laid out and getting everything ready for stenciling. This is kind of just more of a summer project and doubles as a patriotic decor piece as well. One size does say stars and stripes, and the other one says summertime with a cute little watermelon. So I thought that was just a fun way to incorporate both seasons, I guess, the season of summer and the holiday. And the gal on Etsy charges like $50 for this project, so I can definitely make it for cheaper than that. But I will say I can understand why she charges what she does, because it was kind of a lot of work. It did take a fair amount of time, so I can see why she charges what she does. But I'm just going to go through, get these all stenciled on, and you'll watch as it kind of plays out and get the idea and the gist of what we're going for. This is the last block for the stars and stripes side. Just stenciling on a few stars. And for the watermelon one, I just grabbed a shape from Cricut Design Space and kind of manipulated it to, I removed a couple of the layers and kind of made it look like a U, an odd shaped watermelon, if you will, but I thought it looked really cute. And all of these projects can be done very inexpensively. There are some Dollar Tree geniuses out there that could probably come up with making their own popsicle sticks. And I know you can buy pennant flags. You don't need to purchase a kit if you don't care for them or if you don't want to spend the money on them. There are plenty of ways that you can make similar projects if you do like these on your own with just products purchased from the store. But if kits are something you're interested in, I got you covered. So just check out the Etsy shop. They are fairly inexpensive, of course, and we just want to help people be creative and make all the things they want to make the simplest and easiest route possible. So here we are, just removing, and they all turned out so beautiful, so perfect. The wood is rough, I'll say that. So there are some imperfections, but most of the imperfections are due to this wood being very rough and weathered. For the summertime side, I'm stenciling all the letters in black. And if you'll see kind of over on the left, I accidentally stenciled the S in summer in white. So I had to go over it. That was one mess up I had. That was on me. I wasn't paying any attention. And it didn't stencil perfectly the second time. So I will have to do a little bit of touch-ups on that, as you'll see when I remove it. But luckily, I only did one letter like that. And then I remembered, ooh, I wanted to do this in black, not in white. It's the other side, the stars and stripes, is all in white, the letters. For the green that I switched this out to, I just used the DIY in Avery. Not quite as, I don't know, limey, I guess. And it was just a preference thing. It may not be as watermelon-y as the other one was, but it's just what I wanted to do. So I did cut the watermelon in 3 different parts, or 2 different parts. And this one was simple because I could just peel the part with the seeds off. And then I can stencil this red part separately. And then the green, like rind, or like the outer area of the watermelon was also separate. So it was actually really simple. I kind of complicated it more like in my brain than it actually was. So we're going to get this all painted up in the red, and then we'll do the seeds. And this one, we are getting close. I did have a little bit of help from my best helper girl. She was painting at the beginning for me, and she popped in here and there to check on my progress. Overall, I would say this did probably take a couple hours. It actually took me a couple of days because I had to stop. We went camping. It was like, it felt like it took a lot longer than it probably did because I didn't do it all in one swoop. I had to leave the project sitting unfinished for a couple of days, and so it really felt like this was a project that just went on and on. But I actually am really happy with it. I think it turned out so cute. It's very colorful, and I'm excited to bring in more summer stuff into the home now that, spring is kind of winding its way out of our lives and summer is here. And the Patriotic stuff can only stay up briefly, and the summer stuff can, I feel like, stay up till at least August. So I'm gearing up for a lot more summer projects, and I'm excited for those because they are bright and sunny, and I love summer. What's your favorite season? Summer is definitely mine. We have started swim lessons here for the littles, and that has been fun. We're looking forward to we have one vacation planned, like an actual vacation. My family gets together in California, in Palm Springs. My dad has a place there at a resort that me and my siblings all get to go down and spend a week there together, which is amazing. And then we do have some other camping trips. I do not consider those vacation. Camping is fun, but it is work. And so, yeah, we will do a lot of that. But this is I'm just laying it out for you, showing you how it's going to go. But we are done. This turned out so cute. Oh, and there's the S. You can see that white behind it that I do touch up before I finish. I don't remember if I filmed it, but I do touch that white up just to make it look more finished and more complete, as though I didn't mess it up to begin with. And then when 4th of July is over, well, I did this backwards, but you get the idea. You flip the blocks, and you have two really nice shelf-sitting pieces. Takes up a good amount of space, and I haven't figured out where I'm going to keep mine permanently yet, but that's where it sits for now, so that I could photograph it. And I knew when I saw it on Etsy that I just wanted to make one of my own, and I absolutely love it. And I'm grateful for the inspiration that I find on Etsy and Pinterest and even YouTube. I love receiving inspiration from others, and I hope y'all do the same. Thank you so much for joining me once again, spending your time with me, hanging out. I hope that you're having a great week, and we will be back soon with another video. Thanks again, friends.